West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy with Chef Justice Putnam. Netrootsradio.com.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ma fleur sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte goët.
Donald Trump has already violated the expanded gag order in the New York criminal case in front of Judge Juan Merchan, the Alvin Bragg case, where the first time Trump tried to steal the election from the American people by withholding information or paying someone off so that she wouldn't come forward and talk about the fact that they had an affair. Some people call it the Stormy Daniels hush money case. So Judge Juan Merchan had imposed a gag order after he first warned Donald Trump when he was arrested and arraigned to be careful and don't threaten people, don't cause threats to be made. He did an oral warning. And after he escalated his comments and made more and more disparaging comments about everybody, then he issued a limited gag order, very similar to the one that Judge Tanya Chutkan in Washington, D.C. in that case, in the election, the bigger election stealing case, the Jan 6 case, or as Judge Merchan called it, the insurrection case, the federal insurrection case, which is what it is. He then issued a gag order very similar to that one because that one was upheld by the DC Circuit. So what happened though was there was this thing in the gag order that was unclear because Donald Trump started going after Judge Merchan's daughter. He has an adult daughter who works for a Democratic consulting firm. And he posted that she posted a picture of Trump behind bars in jail. That turned out to be not true. That was debunked. It was somebody else, not her. But that doesn't matter. Donald Trump still is going after Judge Merchan's adult daughter and holding him responsible for her, which is so strange that you would ever hold someone responsible for the views of your family members. But either way, she has nothing to do with this case. She has not expressed anything about this case, and she just goes to work and works for a consulting company. But Donald Trump has decided to go after her. So Alvin Bragg, who's the Manhattan DA, then filed a motion basically saying that Judge Merchan, can you please clarify, does the gag order cover family members or not? And so Judge Merchan issued an order where he said essentially that the people's motion for restriction on extrajudicial statements by the defendant is granted to the extent that the defendant is directed to refrain from the following. And he clarified it includes public statements to witnesses who might participate in the case, right? Because the trial's about to happen. And so you need to not scare off witnesses. You need to not have information go to prospective jurors. You don't want to taint the jury pool. The jury really shouldn't hear or read or see anything other than the evidence, the admissible evidence that comes in at the trial. So we're getting close to the trial, so he's protecting the witnesses. That was Section A. Section B, making or directing others to make public statements about counsel in the case other than the district attorney, because the DA, Alvin Bragg, is a public figure. Although I personally don't think that then opens you up to fair game to be threatened or to basically say false things about you so that people will potentially threaten you or have acts of violence against you, which we've heard has happened to Alvin Bragg. But, he said other than the district attorney. And members of the court staff and the district attorney's staff. So the prosecutors on the case, they're just normal public servants doing their job, right? Same as the court staff, because he saw what happened to Judge Engoron's law secretary, where Donald Trump went after her over and over and over again. So he included staff, included the DA's office staff. And then he added family members of any counsel or staff member, if those statements are made with the intent to materially interfere with or to cause others to materially interfere with counsel's or staff's work in this criminal case, or with the knowledge that such interference is likely to result, and making or directing others to make public statements about any prospective juror. That's Section C, because he's going to protect the jury at all costs, right? That's the integrity of the justice system. But what happens hours after he issued this gag order, making it clear that this absolutely does apply to family members? And Donald Trump, you must stop, because it was specifically about Judge Merchan's daughter. This was brought to his attention. He then clarifies, yes, it does cover it. What does Donald Trump do? He, once again, now he's like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to post on Truth Social other people's statements about the daughter. So he got right after this expanded gag order, hours later, he posted a clip to Truth Social where Fox News commentator Brian Kilmeade essentially slammed the daughter.
Lastly, just on the massive gag order put on the former president of the United States in the Alvin Bragg case, because they don't want him talking about prosecutor Matthew Colangelo, and they don't want him talking about the judge's daughter. But Matthew Colangelo was in the Justice Department with Joe Biden. That is outrageous to President Trump. Also, the fact is, the judge's daughter is a activist who works for Kamala Harris, and there was some dispute on whether she did have a picture up on a website with Donald Trump behind bars. That, to me, is something that if I'm Donald Trump, I'm a little concerned about, that the judge has a daughter who feels this way.
Yeah, I've actually been opposed to gag orders for years, particularly efforts to gag you, Brian.
And then after that, okay, he didn't stop there. After that, he posted these social media posts. I don't know what you call them, truths. I want to call them, whatever they are. And it's from Loomered.com. Okay. So it's reposting what somebody else posted. And it says, exclusive, more of Judge Merchan's anti-Trump bias exposed as the New York attorney Letitia James employed Merchan's wife. And the Democrat. So he talks about Judge Merchan's anti-Trump bias continues to be exposed. Loomer broke that Judge Merchan's wife, Laura, was a paid employee of the AG Letitia James office. AG James ran on he was going to say getting Trump. Then he says, that the judge who gagged him should recuse himself. And then he posts another one where, and again, it's reposting what Loomer put up there. It said, more of Judge Merchan's anti-Trump bias continues to be exposed. On Tuesday, Loomer broke that Judge Merchan's daughter, Lauren Merchan, worked for Revolution Messaging, which managed Bernie Sanders. Okay, so he's posting about now Judge Merchan's wife and about his daughter, but the way he's doing it is he's reposting what either Fox News people have done or what or said, I should say, or what Ms. Loomer is saying here. So he is clearly violating the order where it says making public statements about family members, okay? When you repost somebody else's words as your own, it's as if he was saying it himself, right? These are words that he posts, types on his keyboard, and he is reposting other people's words and other people's videos. He is making those statements. He is adopting them as his own. He is absolutely clearly violating the gag order. So what happens next? What happens next is the Manhattan DA's office normally would normally make a motion and say that he should be held in contempt, or at least spoken to. But it hasn't happened yet. Why hasn't it happened yet? And I don't know. I don't have any inside information, but I think because what Donald Trump is doing is he's basically giving the middle finger to the system and to the courts and he's daring Judge Merchan to do something, because he is trying to get a delay. He does not want to go to trial. He does not want to have this trial. And so he is trying to bait Judge Merchan into doing something, saying something that Trump can then either appeal or get him recused, whatever it is, because he's already tried to get him recused again, even though he made this motion a year ago and it was denied. In again, typical Trump playbook, he goes after a family member or a woman in someone's life, whether it's, Jack Smith's wife, or whether it's Judge Engoron's law secretary, or it's Judge Merchan's wife and daughter. It doesn't matter. This is Donald Trump's playbook, but his other playbook is to seek recusal of judges that he does not like, right? He tried to get Judge Engoron recused. He tried to get Judge Kaplan recused, and he's tried to get Judge Merchan recused several times. Even tried to get Fani Willis, the DA, disqualified and recused from the case. That's what he does when he doesn't like what's happening to him. He makes up all sorts of things about them, about their personal life that have nothing to do with anything, and he tries to get them disqualified or recused off of a case because he never wants to face justice. So it's a typical, predictable playbook that, first of all, it's not a normal thing, by the way. I practiced for 30 years. I maybe had defendants make a handful of recusal motions for judges or prosecutors. It just doesn't happen. It's not a thing. But Trump does it in every case. He makes it seem like it's a normal thing. And Judge Merchan knows that, first of all, he knows what he's doing, and he knows that he's trying to delay, but Judge Merchan is trying to keep this case moving forward. He's trying to not give Trump what he wants because delay would not be just here. And he also knows, though, he has to balance that with protecting the jurors, protecting the trial, and protecting his family, right? He wrote in his order, there's an unacceptable risk, right? There's an unacceptable risk here that we don't want to put up with, because there's no reason to go after someone's family member. It has nothing to do with the case. There's no legitimate reason to keep saying these things. He has a First Amendment right to make comments, but not to attack people. So what are they going to do? And what are the judge's options if he decides to do something about these, what I would say are clear violations? Now, the judge has several options. First of all, he can call, and what I think he'll do first is he'll call Donald Trump in and say, I really mean it, stop it. And so he'll give another verbal warning. The other thing he's said he was going to do was, okay, you keep doing this, you're going to lose your right. Your right to have information or the names of jurors. I don't trust you. I don't trust you to follow orders. So you're not going to get to know the names of jurors because you'll put them in danger. So you can't do that. That's another option. The other option he has is he can hold him in contempt. And there's different types of contempt. Okay, there's punitive contempt and coercive contempt. So punitive contempt is to punish. Coercive contempt is to try and get someone to do something you want them to do. So would he hold him in civil contempt, which is by its nature coercive, meaning it's trying to force someone to do something. And usually it's someone won't give over information or refuses to comply with a subpoena and give over documents. And you can put someone in jail until they will comply, or you can fine them every single day because every day is a new violation. And that's civil, right? Because you're trying to coerce them. So every single day that he does this, that he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, it's another fine, another fine, another fine. Or what you do for every other defendant that I've ever had and seen, you put them in. You say, you do it again next time, as they say, bring your toothbrush because you're going in. And I think what Judge Merchan is going to do is that. I think he's going to order Donald Trump to come in, and he's going to put him in. And by putting him in, it doesn't mean he's going to send him to Rikers Island. It means he's going to make him sit, handcuffed on a bench in the courtroom or in the jail cell in the back of the courtroom. And he's not going to let him out until he promises to not do it again. And so what will happen is his lawyers will come out and they'll make motions and they'll beg and plead and they'll make all sorts of promises. And he will make Donald Trump on the record swear under oath, promise, whatever, to not do it again, because if he does, then he'll be in criminal contempt where he can be punished for violating, he can be put in jail, and he can also be fined. But look, there's also a contempt, a summary contempt, whereas if Trump does it in front of the judge can just find him in contempt right then and there. So there's different options. It's not exactly clear which one the judge will choose, but there are several options. But again, there's also a penal law contempt, which is even another, which is this criminal contempt, but that would be a complaint charged by the district attorney, and they'd have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, which is a higher standard. That's why I think he's going to do the civil contempt, and he's going to try to coerce him to stop, because that's really what he wants. What anyone wants is just stop with this, stop threatening people, stop talking about people's family members, and let's just get to the trial and to the evidence. So that's what I think is going to happen. I think though the judge is weighing what to do, because it's clear he's being baited by Trump, because Trump wants an excuse to seek recusal. But Judge Merchan is a judge I've appeared in front of. He's not going to fall for this. He's a very, very, very smart judge. He is a judge's judge. He's not, there's some judges who you'd say, oh, that's pro-prosecution or pro-defense. I have no idea what Judge Merchan is, because he's never tipped his hand. He's just fair. He's just one of those judges that when you go to him, that he's going to follow the law. He's going to call balls and strikes. He's just a fair judge's judge. He's not chummy or friendly with the parties, the way some judges are. He really maintains the integrity of the process of the court system. And he's going to protect the jury and the evidence because he has to, and that's his job. And he will not be baited by Trump. So stay tuned. Trump has violated this gag order clearly. And so something is going to happen. Let's see what it is.
It is Thursday, the 4th of April of 2024, and you are in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. I am your chef de cuisine, Justice Putnam. Gunner, the English bulldog, is our snoozing sous chef. Precious, the little Yorkie, is our door girl, and she will be seating you directly for our especially special daily special, Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays. A little bit of jambalaya, a little bit of spice in your life. Only a little, okay? How are you? It is Thursday. Just another quick reminder, folks. No show tomorrow. I'll be with my mom while she's getting her surgery, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that everything turns out okay. Because one worries when one's mother is a bit elderly. So thanks for all the good wishes, and we'll take that. We'll take it. Yes, we will. And little Precious has her knee surgery scheduled for Tuesday early, and we may have an abbreviated show for that day as well. We'll see. Now with Mom, they're going to keep her overnight, and presumably I'll get her out on Saturday, and in a similar time frame as from before when the stent did not stay in place. So presumably, and this is what they said, it's about the same in terms of its recovery. They're going to keep her overnight. Before it was possibly go home as soon as she stabilizes, but they found out, well, keep her overnight. It takes her like a night to be able to get stabilized and to send home. So that's what we're looking at, and then there'll be some follow-up. They said they'd like her to, get up and about. So it's almost like an outpatient procedure. Almost. That's something that I take to heart, that the technology has advanced so much that these procedures that, I got to tell you, 30 years ago, I don't know. I don't think they could do that with a carotid artery. Go in there and route it out. I don't know. So, keeping our fingers crossed for that. And then once again with Precious, she'll get her knee surgery. And then when she recovers from that, we'll get the other one done. And hopefully she'll be good to go also. Boy, we're all getting old, aren't we? Yes, we are. Life. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I don't know. The first two, I figured, we're invincible. Now we're towards this part, and I'm like, what the hell was I thinking? Should have lived my life to the fullest. I did. Without, I don't know, having an early demise. Living your life to the fullest doesn't mean having an early demise. I figured it would be like having a, long, healthy life. And I always like the idea of a quick decline, not the long, painful misery decline. We don't like that. So try to avoid it. Well, let's not get so metaphysical. There's some real absolute tangible things happening here and now outside of our own steady decline. And that is the fact that Donald Trump continues to break the law, and I guess there's apparently nothing you can do about it. 2 tiers of justice, yes sirree. Boy. And then they whine. They keep whining like, I have it so bad. You're trying to treat me like everybody else? That's bad. You're violating my rights to be a total dick. Because when you're rich, they just let you do it. No, they don't. We've actually gone way beyond the pitchfork stage, pal. Anyway, technology is such that we don't need an actual pitchfork. The hoi polloi have been a little upset for quite some time, and you might be able to denigrate us. But the fact is, we're here. And we vote. Oh my. Isn't that something too? That's why they just cannot stand the fact that democracy might supplant their freedom to be dicks. Mm-hmm. Too bad. I like the idea of the communitarian. Not everything has to be, selfish desire. I heard it argued once that, just because you want to do things for other people means that you're selfish because that's what you're selfish about. What? Sounds like a justification to me. Okay. And it was. On the other hand, it's really hard to advance one's literary career without having a little bit of ego. Found that out too. Jeez. Sit in Zazen for 3 years, come out of that, in this mindfulness, behavior and attitude and understanding. And then, I'm supposed to go out there and drink cocktails with people and push my book? Okay. Yeah. I figure maybe you should do that before you sit in Zazen for 3 years. Okay? Hit the cocktail circuit. Then go to Zazen. Don't do the other way around. Let that be a lesson to the kids out there that may or may not be listening at this very moment. Okay. How did everybody else do it? I think they hit the cocktail circuit. Then they sat in Zazen. Boy, I don't know. Marched to a different drummer, I guess. Yeah. Oh, boy. So, what else is going on besides, well, this guy breaking the law? We got Bibi Netanyahu making excuses also. What the hell? What the hell? Now, when we talk about communitarians, that's also, the idea that, politicians have to earn my vote. No, they don't. How about taking one for the team, pal? No way. Okay, well, sit on the sidelines then. See how you like it. They don't. They'll rant and they'll rape and they'll, throw up their hands and dress up as a team mascot even at times. Get in here and play the game with the rest of us. Okay, it's a democracy. I just like politicians who can fill the potholes without taking my granddaughter's rights away. Don't we all? Apparently not. Seems like there's a few of them out there that would like to take my granddaughter's rights away. Okay. And when I say my granddaughter's rights away, I mean every woman's rights away. And they won't stop there. Then they came for the men. I looked around. There was no one left but me. Okay, well, I'm not waiting that long. And anyway, what's so wrong about equal rights for women? I just don't get it. I still don't get it. Yeah, jeez. Still having that argument with this guy out here, the anti-education, anti-government, liberalism is a disease, it's a mental disorder. Yeah, right. I wish it was. No, I don't. Do I think that conservatism is a mental disorder? Well, I don't know. Look at their behavior. Making up stuff to justify their bad behavior. Oh, well, we've been colluding with the cops and beating the crap out of people, but we'll blame it on Antifa. Antifa did it. Really? Anti-fascists caused you to want to kick ass? What does that make you? I had this argument back in 2015 when we had the Malheur incident. There were people that were absolutely defending these criminals' behavior. That's when I realized, oh my God. We always talked about how in the Western movement, seems like California drew a lot of America's crazy people, didn't it? I mean, they all talk about how crazy California is. Well, they all came from somewhere. They came from your hometown. Now they're here. Then they moved to someone else's little small hometown and said, we want rural America back. Oh, really? Well, you're not going to get it. We're going to make America great again. That's the other point that I try to make to these folks. So we don't live in some tiny little bubble. We live in America. Sea to shining sea. And then we got a north and a south too, so come on. Actually, sea to shining sea, then you kind of hop, then you're on an island, and then the rest of the sea from there. It's not stop at the continental United States, as I always try to make clear every day that this show is on. Oh my. I've just been going on and on and on. And I guess it's because I'm nervous about what's going to be happening with my mom, so bear with me, okay? Little confession. Anyway, what do we have in store for you in the curated part of the show? We actually took time to find some articles that might be of import. And what are they? Well, at the top, yes, Trump cannot keep from violating those court orders to shut the hell up and stop threatening people. And he's responding with the attitude of like, hey, I have a constitutional right to be a dick and threaten anybody I want because, hey, I am me. Well, we'll see what's going to happen. I would like to see him thrown in jail. Wouldn't we all? But I'm not holding my breath. On the rest of the menu, well, a day after storms spawned multiple tornadoes that caused widespread damage, Kentucky's Democratic governor criticized a new Republican-backed policy that would tie his hands in responding to any future disasters. Yeah, let's nullify leadership in the midst of a disaster. That's how they work. Why? The more chaos, the more they can play the old authoritarian playbook from, 1920s Nazi Germany. Even though New York City's AI chatbot was caught telling businesses to break the law, there are no plans to take it down. I thought the mayor was like a cop. All right. And the Texas Emergency Management Chief recommended that the state needs its own firefighting aircraft. Yeah, they ought to do something. After the break, we move to the chef's table, where 2 bomb threats led to a brief lockdown of the Norwegian parliament. And a prominent German far-right extremist, a nice way of saying he's a neo-Nazi, has been charged with a second count of using an illegal Nazi slogan. All that and more on West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit. One would think that after having a quite long clip at the top that there would be a shorter rant period after that, but no, it was a very long rant period. So we're going to forego the usuals as usual and tuck into this first offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. And it is out of the Associated Press by Bruce Schreiner. Democratic Governor Andy Beshear was at a podium yesterday, Wednesday, for a familiar scene to discuss damage from the latest round of storms that battered Kentucky. But this time, he contended that a new Republican-backed policy threatens to tie his hands in responding to any future disasters. A day after storms spawned multiple tornadoes that caused widespread damage in several counties, the governor criticized a provision in the budget bill passed by lawmakers that would limit how much his administration could spend to respond immediately to such emergencies. Once reaching that cap, he'd have to ask the lawmakers for more immediate funding, which would require a special session if they're not meeting at the time. Beshear signaled that he would line-item veto the provision in the 2-year budget measure, which he said sets the limit at $25 million per fiscal year. The legislature's Republican supermajorities could override the veto when lawmakers reconvene in mid-April for the final 2 days of this year's session. Must be nice. Get to have the rest of the year off from April. Mindful of that, the governor appeared willing to compromise. If they don't want to remove the limitation entirely, at least make it bigger, Beshear said. However, State Senate President Robert Stivers, a Republican, disputed Beshear's assertion that his hands would be tied, saying the governor would have ready access to considerably more emergency funding if he would just give up everything that Democratic Party believes in. You know, equal protection, due process, civil rights, personal freedom. Another budget bill provision would make up to $50 million available each year in the event of a presidential disaster declaration to be used to match federal aid. If an emergency is so significant that it requires spending more than that, the governor has a responsibility to call lawmakers into special sessions, Stivers said. Oh, really? Otherwise, he suggests we forego our constitutional duties as the branch responsible for the purse of the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Stivers said in a statement, because, he's not around to be able to do it in person. The governor's office responded that freeing up that additional money would take time, meaning it would not be available in the aftermath, but could take weeks or months following a natural disaster. Beshear has expressed alarm about the issue since January. On yesterday, he said if the cap had been in place in the current fiscal year, it would have been exceeded even before severe storms hit portions of northern Kentucky last month. Emergency funds can be used to provide shelter and food for people displaced by storms, as well as costs associated with activating the National Guard to assist after natural disasters. During his tenure, Beshear has spent considerable time leading the state's response to massive storms. In 2021, tornadoes killed scores of people in western Kentucky, and in 2022, floodwaters in Appalachia left dozens more dead. Each time, the governor won high marks for his response, which contributed to his re-election victory last year in a state that otherwise has shifted toward the GOP. So what else is the GOP going to do? Make sure that he's not a hero by being able to respond to any more disasters. Jake Offenhart of the Associated Press brings us this next offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays. An artificial intelligence-powered chatbot created by New York City to help small business owners is under criticism for dispensing bizarre advice that misstates local policies and advises companies to violate the law. But days after the issues were first reported last week by tech news outlet The Markup, the city has opted to leave the tool on its official government website. Eric Adams, the mayor, of course, we all know him, defended the decision this week, even as he acknowledged the chatbot's answers were, quote, wrong in some areas, unquote. Launched in October as a one-stop shop for business owners, the chatbot offers users algorithmically generated text responses to questions about navigating the city's bureaucratic maze. It includes a disclaimer that it may quote, occasionally produce incorrect, harmful, or biased information, and the caveat since strengthened that its answers are not legal advice. Okay. He continues to dole out false guidance, troubling experts who say the buggy system highlights the dangers of governments embracing AI power systems without sufficient guardrails. They're rolling out software that is unproven without oversight, said Julia Stoyanovich, a computer science professor and director for the Center for Responsible AI at New York University. It's clear they have no intention of doing what's responsible, she said. In responses to questions posed yesterday, Wednesday, the chatbot falsely suggested it is legal for an employer to fire a worker who complains about sexual harassment, doesn't disclose a pregnancy, or refuses to cut their dreadlocks. Contradicting two of the city's signature waste initiatives, it claimed that businesses can put their trash in black garbage bags and are not required to compost. At times, the bot's answers veered into the absurd. Asked if a restaurant could serve cheese nibbled on by a rodent, it responded, yes, you can still serve the cheese to customers if it has rat bites, but before adding that it was important to assess the extent of the damage caused by the rat and to inform customers of the situation. Here, have some rat-eaten cheese. How'd you like that? A spokesperson for Microsoft, which powers the bot through its Azure AI services, said the company was working with city employees to improve the service and ensure the outputs are accurate and grounded on the city's official documentation. I always say artificial intelligence is only intelligence as the bigot programming it, teaching it how. Really? You know. Scientists have long voiced concerns about the drawbacks of these kinds of large language models, which are trained on troves of text pulled from the internet and prone to spitting out answers that are inaccurate and illogical because a lot of human beings are that way, you know. But as the success of ChatGPT and other chatbots have captured the public attention, private companies have rolled out their own products with mixed results. Simpson of the Associated Press brings us this final offering here in the Bistro Cafe of West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Texas' top emergency manager told a panel of lawmakers that the state should establish its own firefighting aircraft division after a series of wildfires, including the largest in state history, scorched the Panhandle region this year. But the local landowners tasked with helping the legislature investigate the fires that were responsible for at least 2 deaths and burned through more than 1 million acres had raised doubt during a meeting in Pampa over the state's ability to handle such catastrophes. We do not control our own destiny, and I want to control our destiny, Nim Kidd, chief of the Texas Division of Emergency Management, told a crowd of more than 100 skeptical people at the M.K. Brown Heritage Room. Pampa, a town of about 16,000 in Gray County, about an hour northeast of Amarillo, is closer to Oklahoma than the Texas capital. Lawmakers decided to hold the hearings there to make it easier for victims of the fire to attend. The panel is expected to discuss what contributed to the wildfires, the allocation of response resources, and the effectiveness of wildfire disaster preparedness. Well, let us now go to a short break, and when we get back from that break, we will go through weather from around the world, and we will finish up with the stories that we've curated for you today. You are listening to West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, and we will be right back.
You are listening to netrootsradio.com.
Please hang up and try again.
From a point at sea to the circles of your mind, a new force is at work for planetary transformation. New radio for a new Earth.
Hi, it's Tom. Could we humbly suggest your donation to netrootsradio.com? All we've got to run this 24-hour powerhouse of progressive resistance radio is what comes out of our own wallets. And you are our biggest donor. And it doesn't take much, $3, $5. Just go to the bottom of our netrootsradio.com page and hit our secure donate button. Heck, you can even make a recurring contribution. And you'll get a wondiferous pair of Netroots radio stickers for application to your backpack, your bumper sticker, or your banjo. Well, it's up to you which backpack you want to put it on. So donate what you'd like at the bottom of our netrootsradio.com's homepage. Because you are our biggest donor. Netrootsradio.com. Together, we are Resistance Radio.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. April 2nd, Wisconsin voters passed 2 ballot questions impacting how local elections are run, and in Wisconsin and other states' primaries, large numbers of voters made it known they're not happy with the apparent nominees. Wisconsin's question 1 constitutionally bans private funding for elections. Unfounded accusations blamed grant money for increasing turnout of Democrats, contributing to Donald Trump's 2020 loss. It passed with over 54% of the vote. Question 2 limits who can help run elections, but its vague language raised questions of unintended consequences. It passed with over 58% of the vote. Despite Donald Trump and Joe Biden already being the apparent nominees, substantial numbers of voters in the April 2nd primary states of Wisconsin, New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island made it clear they weren't happy with their options. Almost 21% of Wisconsin GOP voters chose a candidate other than Donald Trump, as did 27% of Connecticut Republicans. Over 12% of Wisconsin Democrats didn't vote for Joe Biden, including 8.3% voting for uninstructed. In Rhode Island, 14.5% voted for uncommitted, and a total of 19.3% didn't vote for Biden. Connecticut Democrats voted 11.5% for uncommitted, and a total of 15.2% didn't support Biden. We have links to the results at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. Tomorrow marks the anniversary of the Upper Big Branch mine disaster. This is the first of 2 parts commemorating that moment in labor history. The year was 2010. A massive explosion ripped through Massey Energy's mine in Raleigh County, West Virginia. The explosion killed 29 miners. It was the deadliest in decades. The explosion at the Upper Big Branch mine revealed the ruthlessness of profit-driven mine executives, raking in $150 $104 million in profit the year before, they callously insisted the explosion had been an act of God. The explosion also exposed the immense pressure on federal and state regulators to look the other way or go easy on enforcement. And it demonstrated just how deep the ties go between industry, regulators, and those in seats of political power. The Upper Big Branch mine explosion served as a testament to the increasingly unsafe and non-union nature of the industry. 35 years ago, 95% of the state's mines were unionized. Walkouts over health and safety were common. Now, less than 25% are. And the workers risked their livelihoods if they dared to speak up about safety. Autopsies of those killed in the explosion revealed that over 70% of them were found to have had black lung disease, an entirely preventable disease with proper ventilation. Massey executives routinely violated safety rules as a cost of doing business. American University's detailed study of Massey's safety record for the years 2000 through 2010 concluded that no other U.S. coal company had a worse fatality record. A total of 54 workers, including those at the Upper Big Branch mine, had been killed during that time period. They also found that Massey had been cited for nearly 63,000 violations, including more than 25,000 considered significant and substantial. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
Thank you for accompanying us here to the chef's table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Metro Shrimp and Grits Thursdays. A little bit of jambalaya, a little bit of spice in your life. We always begin, whether from around the world along the banks of the Rogue River, in the Rogue River Valley of Southern Oregon, on the west coast of the continental United States of America, where it is currently 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Can you believe that? Expecting highs only in the upper 40s, maybe in the low 50s. Clouds and some sun this morning, which actually we have quite a bit of sun this morning. And then mostly clouds this afternoon. Winds will be out of the north-northwest at a brisk 10 to 15 miles per hour. And then a mix of light rain and snow tonight. Late, lows in the low 30s, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour, and then rain and snow showers in the morning when I'm taking my mom to the hospital for her surgery. How nice. Then becoming mostly cloudy in the afternoon, highs in the low 50s, winds out of the west-northwest at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Great. Looks like grass pollen is rated as moderate right outside the window here in Rogue River proper. The air quality index for the region is in the good range at 35 parts per million. And that daytime UV index is high at level 6, so take care. Barometric pressure is falling at 29.86 inches. Visibility is up to 10 miles. And relative humidity is at 98%. Weather from around the world is brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world, and that is the Weather Underground. London is 58 degrees with rain showers. Paris is 68 and mostly cloudy, and they have a flood watch. Rome is 68 degrees and sunny. Kabul is 51 with light rain. Hong Kong is 63 and mostly cloudy. Tokyo is 61 and cloudy. Melbourne, Victoria, Australia is 56 degrees and clear. San Francisco, California is 48 degrees with rain and a small craft advisory on the bay and offshore. Chicago, Illinois is 38 degrees with light rain and a small craft advisory. And New York, New York is 43 degrees Fahrenheit and cloudy. And that is weather from around the world, brought to you by a crowd of crowdsourced weather stations that a crowd crowdsources from around the world. At the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this first amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy, Metro Shrimp and Grist Thursdays. 2 bomb threats led to a brief lockdown of the Norwegian Parliament yesterday, Wednesday, while lawmakers continued to debate inside. Heavily armed police were posted outside the assembly and the surrounding streets were cordoned off. Bomb-sniffing dogs were seen in action outside the building. The 169-member Storting was reopened after a bit more than 2 hours. A senior police officer said authorities were confident that it is now safe. During the lockdown, the Storting administration told lawmakers and staff by text that we have no indication that it is dangerous to be inside the Storting, Norwegian media reported. Justice Minister Emil Mell, who took part in a debate on Wednesday morning, said it was unpleasant and unacceptable that bomb threats were directed at Parliament, adding the Norwegian security service PST also was involved. He said earlier that one of the threats was received Tuesday evening, but was not deemed not to be credible, while the second was sent yesterday, Wednesday, to police in Oslo. No details were given. There is a difference in the severity of the 2 threats, the senior officer said, adding police knew who sent the threat Tuesday. No one has been arrested, he added. Even more hard-working staff at the World Desk of the Associated Press brings us this final amuse-bouche here at the Chef's Table at West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Prosecutors said yesterday, Wednesday, that they have charged one of the most prominent figures in the far-right Alternative for Germany party with a second count of uttering a slogan used by the Nazis' SA stormtroopers at a political event. Bjorn Höck was already scheduled to go on trial in Hull on April 18th. Prosecutors in the eastern city said they would seek to have the new count added to those proceedings. Höck, age 52, is the leader of the regional branch of Alternative for Germany, or AFD, in the neighboring state of Thuringia and an influential figure on the party's hard right. He is set to lead his campaign in a state election set for the 1st of September. In the case already scheduled for trial, he is charged with using symbols of unconstitutional organizations. He is accused of ending a speech in Meersburg in May of 2021 with the words, "Everything for Germany." Prosecutors contend he was aware of the origin of the phrase as an SA slogan. They have said Hoek's lawyers denied that his words had any criminal relevance. In the new case, prosecutors allege that he repeated the offense at an AFD event in Gira, in his home state, on December 12th last year, in certain knowledge of the punishability of the slogan. They said in a statement that Hoek said everything for and encouraged the audience to shout, "Germany!" Hoek has not responded to the latest charges, they added. AFD's branch in Thuringia has a particularly radical reputation and is viewed by Germany's domestic intelligence agency as a proven right-wing extremist group. Hoek once called the Holocaust Memorial in Berlin a monument of shame and called for Germany to perform a 180-degree turn in how it remembers its past. The party tribunal at the time rejected a bid to have him expelled. National polls in recent months have shown AFD in second place behind the mainstream conservative opposition, and the party is particularly strong in the formerly communist East. Well, that brings us to the end of our broadcast period for the day, and it will also be the week, but we will meet up here on Monday for River City Hash Mondays. We will be absent tomorrow, so do stay tuned to Netroots Radio all day, all night, all Friday, all weekend for all the breaking news as it breaks. And we will meet up here on Monday, right here in West Coast Cookbook and Speakeasy. Bon appetit.
Je voudrais du soleil vert, des dentelles et des théières, des photos de bord de mer, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je voudrais de la lumière, comme en Nouvelle-Angleterre. Je veux changer d'atmosphère, dans mon jardin d'hiver. Robe à fleurs sous la pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, qu'il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Je voudrais du Fred Astaire, revoir un latte Goël. Je voudrais toujours te plaire dans mon jardin d'hiver. Je veux déjeuner par terre, comme au long de golfe clair. T'embrasser les yeux ouverts dans mon jardin d'hiver. Pluie de novembre, tes mains qui courent, je n'en peux plus de t'attendre. Les années passent, il est loin, là je tombe. Nul ne peut nous entendre. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver. Ba-da-da-dum-di-da-dum. 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 Dans mon jardin d'hiver.